Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how I created this jumping text animation in Cavalry using 0 keyframes. As you can see, if I delete these keyframes here, the basic animation does not take any keyframes, only if you want to loop it. And in case you want to know the trick very quickly, as you can probably see here, this whole thing is basically controlled with a falloff. Wherever I move this falloff, the text jumps and changes color. So that's the gist of it. So let's create a new comp here. I will alt-click this text. I will center it. Let's call it jumping text. And my Cavalry keeps crashing, so I'm going to save this really quickly. Within the text, we're going to make this black. We're going to increase the size, and the color does not matter. We will edit the color later. By the way, I have, what is this called? Live mode activated, so that whenever I click on a layer, it automatically shows up here in the attribute editor, so that I don't have to keep closing and organizing the attributes. So anyway, on the text layer, you're going to go to Deformers and add a submesh. Okay? Within the submesh here, go to the Y position and increase it. I believe I did about 90. And then we're going to go to the falloffs panel up here. Click on that. Right click in this box, add falloffs, falloff. And yeah, this is the falloff we have. I'm going to increase the scale. Whoa, not there. On the falloffs, I'm going to increase the scale, make it a bit bigger. And if you want, you can edit the X position, just make it go from left to right. However, to keep my promise of having 0 keyframes, I'll show you how to do that. Within falloff, on the position, right click, add behavior, go to frame and make sure you click on X, okay? Within frame, we're going to edit the value, change it to about 60, and go to offset here and move the offset to the beginning. Let's see how that looks. Yep. If you don't know, the frame layer is kind of like the equivalent of using the time times expression in After Effects. So this is basically like going into the X position and saying time times 60. So every frame, the X value increases by 60. That's all it's doing. And that's why it's just moving from left to right without any keyframes. If you want to loop it, go to the beginning, create a keyframe for the offset. Let's go to the end, wherever it ends, which looks like about right here. And then I'm going to create some space for it to pause. So I'm going to hold Command and Shift, or Control and Shift if you're on Windows, and the right arrow key. I'm going to do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to set another keyframe, and I'm going to move the offset. I'm going to move the offset back to the beginning. So right here. And then I'm going to click on the first keyframe, right click, curve interpolation, and click step. Step. This basically turns it into a hold keyframe if you're, again, familiar with After Effects. So it goes, it pauses, and then it goes again. There we go. Also, one extra thing I did for the falloff, click on falloff, go to falloff graph. So currently, by default, it slowly goes up, and then the text slowly comes back down. It eases on both ends. But what I want it to do is I want it to come up and then basically crash down. So I'm going to just move this like this. I'm going to make it a little more subtle, maybe. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. See how it snaps down to the bottom? It doesn't ease down. One other thing, sorry, go back into submesh and just increase the scale. I'm going to hold Option or Alt to increase both at the same time. And I'm going to do maybe 1.3. And that will just make it get a bit bigger. You can also check Center Pivot, and that will just center it. So the text will get a little bit bigger. I'm also going to increase the position here a little bit, just so that it jumps a little bit higher. Yeah, it's a small thing, but it adds a little bit of character, I think. Anyway, so let's move on to how I created the color here. So within submesh, click on submesh, go to fill, and make sure replace fill is checked. If this is not checked, it will not work, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a color array. Now to do this, there's two ways you can do it. If you want to create your own color array, you hit Command or Control period, type in array, click color array, and then you can create your own custom color array with all kinds of, custom colors. However, the better way to do it, in my opinion, is to get a color palette. I'm just going to use the default Alice palette here. Click on the three dots and click on Create Array from Palette. Okay, this will create a color array. I'm going to put this under the submesh here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get this dot here on the color array, click, drag to the submesh, release, and then click fill color. So now this color array, this set of colors is now controlling each character in this text, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the first color and turn it to whatever the default color you want to be. So I'm gonna make it this black color. And then I'm just gonna change these and make them a little more interesting because the default colors are a little bland. So let's put a green here, and then that looks good. So basically the default color is black, and I want it to cycle between blue, yellow, green, and red. Okay, right now it doesn't do anything though. This box that says auto index, we're going to uncheck it. And now if we go to this index color, we can cycle through the colors, right? But we want this to be random, right? So on index, right click, click add behavior, and random. Now we have a random node here. It's randomly assigning colors here. Okay, so now in the random layer, go to falloff, and we're going to drag this falloff onto the random layer. So now, as you can see, the falloff now affects the color. It will change the colors whenever the falloff goes through, which is really fun. But as you can see, some of the letters are still staying black. And what we're going to do for that, we're going to go back into the random layer, behavior, and we're going to just change the minimum to 1. So if we go back to our color array, our default color is set to 0, and we just want it to cycle between the 1, 2, 3, and 4 colors, okay? So now, when the falloff goes over it, it will change text. Just like that. Easy as that. Now, one thing that I did that isn't totally necessary, but it adds a little more variety if you want. If you change the seed here, it will change the colors. And what I did is I right-clicked on that, add behavior, and added frame. Okay? And again, this is just like using the time times expression on a seed. Okay? So let's change this to, I don't know. I completely forget what I changed it to, but let's change it. Okay, that is way too fast. But see how it flickers through the colors a lot more quickly. So let's just change this to 1, see how that looks. Okay, again, way too fast. Let's change the strength down to 15. Again, I have no idea what I did here. I don't remember. But, yeah, here we go. This is a little more... It just makes the colors cycle a little bit more than how they used to. And yeah, that's that. That's the end of the animation. That's how you create this jumping text animation with just 0 keyframes, or 2 if you want it to loop. Go to the end here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hit end. Okay, now it ends, it pauses, and it repeats. Okay, so now what you do is you hit Option or Alt and B to open the Render Manager, Current Composition. Choose where you want it to render to, and then just click Render. And there you go. That is how you create this jumping text animation. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.